Yeah. 3-6, mafia.
Yeah.
Whoa. Hey. Yeah. Whoa.
Say what? Whoa. 3-6 mafia. It's going down. Y'all know what time it is. We ain't playing with you. In the club, in the street. Y'all know what time it is. Get ready for it. Oh, man alive. Way to be quick. Step up, bring it. Yes, sir.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome into yet another live edition of No B.S. to wrap up our weekday schedule of programming here on the MI6 Sports Network. It is Season 2 and Episode 12 on this Friday, October 16th, 2020, coming away from across California and the Buckeye State at The Ohio State University. As usual, folks, joined tonight by Trevor Williams and Isaiah Leung, Callan McClurg from the home studio in San Diego. Of course, Trevor, good to see you, man. And you're literally, buddy, a week away from the Big Ten coming back to play for college football. How's it going, buddy, over there at The Ohio State University tonight?
I'm excited that the Big Ten football season's literally a week away. I just can't sleep thinking about it. So that's why I'm here doing a late night show to talk about some college football, some big games this weekend. So I'm excited for it and just can't wait for next week. I'm going to wear my Buckeye jersey and see if I can get some pictures of the stadium, if I can get close enough, if they allow students to get close to hear the whistles of the game. So I'll let you know if I can get that close for that game.
Yeah, do like some inside reporting from outside of the shoe and get us some good footage. And with that as well, folks, we welcome on Isaiah Leung from the Garage Studios up in Fremont, California. Of course, Isaiah, good to see you again. Great job today with John Schaefer of Extra 1360. Earlier today on the very special Friday edition and afternoon edition, for that matter, of Wild Sports Talk with yourself and me and Mr. John Mappis as well. Good to see you again, man. How we doing?
Great to see you again, Callan. Great to see you again, Trevor. You know, it was a great early show today with John Schaefer. I really recommend you guys all to go check it out after this program. We talked a lot about the Padres, talked a lot about the San Diego State Aztecs, talked a lot about the San Diego State Aztecs men's basketball team as well. So go check it out. It was a phenomenal show. But, man, we're doing double duty tonight, Callan. I took a 2-hour nap after we finished up doing the episode with John Schaefer. I'm well rested. I'm refreshed. I'm energized. I'm ready to go. You're probably going to see a little more crazy Isaiah than usual because I had a 2-hour nap beforehand. So I'm well rested and ready to go. But ladies and gentlemen, man, I just want to tell you guys all that tonight's show is going to be filmed in front of a live studio audience because, you know, here in the Bay Area, we're battling a heat wave right now. It's freaking 97 degrees at 7:18 p.m. currently in the Bay Area. This garage studio is hot as hell. My air conditioner is broken. So I had to, you know, get the garage door open. So you're going to hear people walking by, cars driving by. But hey, we welcome all the audience that want to come and listen to this program.
And again, folks, we'll take your input on all things going on in the sports world, questions, comments, concerns throughout the course of our show. And again, folks, stick around for a one exclusive preview and look at our Halloween Spooktacular trailer. If you missed it earlier today on Wild Sports Talk, we'll re-air that trailer for you folks for, again, our big-time, spectacular, spooktacular Halloween show coming up on October 31st. And we'll also, folks, as well, give you our Power 5 later. By the way, folks, that is our Power 5 sports television theme songs. I am super pumped about that, but of course, we'll take your questions, comments, or concerns throughout the course of tonight's show. With that in mind, fellas, college football Saturday on the horizon, and it's a big-time game down in the SEC Conference. That, of course, Trevor, is the Dogs and the Tide. Georgia hooking up with Alabama in prime time, 5 o'clock Pacific time, 8 o'clock Eastern on CBS, I believe in Tuscaloosa. What aims to be probably another one of the spectacular games of this Georgia-Bama rivalry. Of course, though, Trevor, this game in a way highlighted, though, by the positive COVID-19 test among both the Tide's AD and also Coach Nick Saban. However, though, per reports gathered earlier today, Saban will be able to coach from the sidelines in this upcoming ball game against Georgia. Trevor, the question for this game, though, between the Dogs and the Tide, which school or team has the most pressure on them to win this game in your mind?
How I see it is that this is a potential game that we can end up re-seeing this game at a later date in the SEC title game if Georgia reaches it to the other end or Alabama reaches it to the other end. But how I see it is that I think Georgia can afford to lose this game and they can still win the SEC East, I believe, and they end up, dominating in that side of the conference and get back into the title discussion. So in reality, Georgia doesn't have the pressure, but at the same time, year after year, Alabama's been on their number every game, and Georgia is just not being able to capitalize. So there is kind of a pressure on Kirby Smart to pull this game out, and just being a weaker Alabama from what we've seen from previous years. But I think if he's able to beat Alabama, I think it's going to give this Georgia team a chance to actually be in the college football playoffs this year. So this is like the first true test that this team is going to have to go through.
Isaiah, we know that you're going to be ranting about Georgia and Kirby Smart, and again, rightfully so. This is probably, I think Trevor's onto a great point, though, but I think he'll probably echo that sentiment in just a second here, bud. But I think that Georgia, definitely in my mind, all of this pressure is on Georgia because, Georgia's been a ball club or been a school in my mind the past several years, pre-Kirby Smart, now during the Kirby Smart era. They have, in my mind, always been a school that can play well in the SEC, but against big, bad Alabama, buddy, they just don't have, their best game, and they either lose in heartbreaking fashion or they blow big leads incrementally, as we have seen, though, in the past. Not just that, though, losing as well, too, again, notably losing that championship game pretty much at home at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta to both Jalen Hurts and then also Tua Tagovailoa with the game-winning touchdown pass. But Isaiah, give us your thoughts here. I think we all know you're going to be obviously saying that Georgia has the pressure, but pretty much though, maybe add on to why Georgia probably has the most pressure more so than Alabama.
Yeah, Callan, Trevor, normally, I wouldn't read too much into a Week 4 game, but this is not your average, typical Week 4 game. This is a massive showdown between the number 2 team in the country and the number 3 team in the country that I believe will come a long way to deciding the marbles in the SEC. As you mentioned, Callan, I believe that Georgia has the most pressure to win this football game on Saturday night, and especially their coach, Kirby Smart. He has, out of all the players that are playing in this game and the coaches that are coaching in this game, I believe the most pressure to win this game because Kirby Smart has been building this Georgia program to emulate Alabama and to one day eclipse Alabama. And this weekend, my apologies, Alabama is going to be severely compromised. They are only going to have 25% capacity in Bryant-Denny Stadium for this game, so you won't get that thunderous crowd that you typically get for an Alabama game. Plus, Alabama's legendary head coach, Nick Saban, may or may not be on the sideline coaching this game because, he got the coronavirus, I believe it was on Tuesday, and now there's reports that are saying that even though he did pass one negative test, he still has to pass 2 more negative tests tonight and tomorrow before he's allowed to coach. So there's a lot of uncertainty on that front if Saban's going to coach on Saturday. And also, let's not forget, Alabama's defense is coming off a game in which they gave up over 600 plus yards of total offense to Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss and 48 points. So their defense is reeling. And this is obviously not the Alabama defense of old that we are used to watching from a Nick Saban-led team. And meanwhile, Georgia, they have had one of the best defenses in all of college football. They are giving up this season an average of 12 points per game to their opponent, 38.3 rushing yards per game to their opponent, which is the best in all of college football, 198 passing yards per game, and 236.7 yards of total offense per game to their opponent, top 3 in all of college football in all those categories. Georgia's defense has really been stingy all year long. In fact, they are coming off a 2-week stretch in which they completely dismantled number 7 Auburn and number 14 Tennessee and held those 2 potent offenses to a combined 20 points. So Georgia's defense has been rolling. Their offense has picked it up in the last couple of weeks against Auburn and against Tennessee. So if I'm Georgia, you better win this game because everything is in your favor. If you don't win this game, I believe that it's going to be a colossal failure. And I'm not sure that you will ever be able to beat Alabama, because if you can't beat them when they are severely compromised, then I don't think you will ever be able to beat them when they're at their best. This is the biggest game of the Kirby Smart era. This will be the game that I believe that defines whether or not Georgia is actually real contenders or frauds, and also whether or not that this program that Kirby Smart has spent the last 5 years building is finally on Alabama's level, because you've been here for 5 years now. You've gotten a chance to establish your culture. You've got a chance to get your players in and also get your coaches in. So there's no excuses for you not to beat this team, considering all the circumstances right now that Alabama's dealing with, and also the fact that you've spent so much energy and time chasing and emulating Alabama and wanting them for the last 5 years. So I really hope that Georgia comes out all fired up and plays their best football of the season, because it's put up or shut up time for Kirby Smart and the Dogs.
You know, Trevor, we'll get back to you in a second here. I want to add on a couple points about this, but some comments trickling in. First, guys, a game break from Christy Wilson. It remains Braves 2, Dodgers nothing in that deciding game. Again, the Braves, when they move on to the World Series for the first time since 1999, if you can believe that, for Atlanta. Also, Steven from behind the scenes, woo for the Astros. Choke theory is in full effect. Gio writes in saying that Georgia has not beaten Bama since 07. Feel like this time they get it done. Georgia's defense will be the difference. His dogs got this. And Steven writes in, choke theory. Simple as that. And also, Gio also says, though, excellent point, though, but Georgia's defensive front is very scary. Todd Mintz, Bama will still find a way to win this ball game. And one more update from Christy, 3-0. Braves now over the Dodgers. I don't know why Isaiah is celebrating. He wanted the Dodgers to win the whole thing, so who knows about that.
Yeah.
Fire Dave Roberts.
Oh, for the fire Dave Roberts hype train. I got you now. With that, Trevor, you know, I wanted to add on, you know, and I think that Isaiah had a very great point, though, made. And I think, though, Trevor, it's a fair comparison because we talk so much about like the Dabo Sweeneys or the Lane Kiffins or the Kirby Smarts, you know, guys that maybe were under the Nick Saban coaching tree. I look at it more so like Mike Scioscia and Saban and Bill Belichick, you know, three coaches who have had, you know, so many of their coaches become managers or become head coaches. And, you know, it's like, it's kind of like one of those things where like you probably taught them all, but not everything that you know in regards to how you win games. And I think, though, Trevor, probably would you probably agree, though, that maybe that sometimes maybe when it's like a Kiffin or someone that worked under Belichick or under Saban, when they have to face him on the other side, it kind of maybe gets in their head a little bit like, you haven't beaten this guy in your career yet? Like, could that perhaps like play a bit of a mental factor in some of these coaches' minds? What do you think?
I think it definitely plays as a mental factor. Think about this. You worked with this coach before. They know your tendencies. They know your weaknesses. And they brought you on that staff for a reason. It's not out of the blue why they brought you to, you know, like the Alabama staff and to coach with you and all that stuff. They brought you because you had special talents, and that coach knows your weaknesses as well. So it's like you're already on an uphill battle against them. And plus, it's like you said, they're not going to give you all their trade secrets when you get a head coaching job. You're going to have to learn that on your own, how to close out those big games. And if you want to be able to surpass your teacher, you're going to have to beat them on one of those biggest stages or a big game to say, I'm finally now the teacher. I can finally surpass them. I think that's what this game is going to be more about than anything else.
By the way, everyone, a quick game correction per Christy Wilson after review of a challenge. It remains 2-0 Atlanta, not 3-0 as we had earlier said about a couple of heartbeats ago, but still 2-0 regardless of the Braves still on top, though, of the Dodgers. Again, if Atlanta wins the ballgame, they move on to the World Series for the first time since 1999 for their first World Series work. But Isaiah, would you agree, though, in regards to maybe the point I made, though, in regards to you've seen, you know, Smart and Kiffin go separate ways and go to other ball clubs, and when they've had Bama on the schedule, does it probably, though, kind of creep into their mind? Probably not a lot, though, but it probably still in their mind, though. I can't beat this guy. Would you agree about that?
Yeah, I totally agree with it because, and you've seen the last 2 times that Georgia and Alabama has faced off. One time was in the national championship game when Georgia was dominating that game until Kirby Smart made some really, really questionable decisions late in that game, which cost the Georgia Bulldogs that game. Like, I think it was Alabama came back to tie the game. And then the Alabama's kicker missed a easy point-blank field goal. And then afterwards, Georgia had Alabama on the ropes. They had scored a field goal, I believe, to make it 26-23. And then Alabama, they got sacked. Tua Tagovailoa got sacked. And then I remember it was 2nd and 26. And instead of playing in that situation, you play prevent defense so you can let the team get like easy short yardage, but you don't let the team get like a lot of yardage and get that first down. But instead of playing prevent defense, Kirby Smart called a blitz. He called a blitz, and Tua Tagovailoa was somehow able to escape one of the clutches of the Georgia player and able to heave it down the field, and ended up one of the Alabama receivers broke free from one of the Georgia cornerbacks and got an easy touchdown, and that's your ball game right there. And also in the SEC championship, Georgia was dominating that game again, until the second half when Kirby Smart once again makes questionable decisions after questionable decisions. Like, they were tied, and Kirby Smart from the 50-yard line, it's 4th and 15 with Justin Fields in as the guy that's holding for the punter. He calls for a fake punt from midfield. And Justin Fields obviously doesn't get it, and you get Alabama the ball at their own 46-yard line with about 1:46 remaining in a tie game, and you let Alabama win that game that way. So I just think the doubt of not beating Nick Saban really creeps into the minds of Kirby Smart, Lane Kiffin, and all the other Nick Saban assistants that have gotten close but haven't been able to pull it out for the win.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. It is a big time. I think it does enter space, though, and when something like that does, in fact, happen. One quick other game break, fellas, a final score I should actually mention, but the Astros are back in the series. They have come from 3-0 down to hold off Tampa Bay, 7-4 Houston, Game 7 on Saturday from Petco Park for the ALCS. So the Astros from the grave back to a 3-3 series tied, not going away. We'll have more about the baseball postseason, folks, a bit later in tonight's show. With that, Trevor, let's move over now to the NBA. Of course, man, the offseason now in full swing, finally after the longest NBA season to date, of course, with the pandemic, the shutdown, and, of course, the play-in games, the bubble games, and then the playoffs, and, of course, the Lakers winning number 17 just as early as this past Sunday. However, though, Trevor, some movement being done, though, in the NBA, more so, of course, coaches now coming into place. Again, Doc Rivers now to the Philadelphia 76ers. Tyronn Lue hired by the LA Clippers a couple days ago as well, or as early, I should say, as yesterday on Thursday. But now, though, Trevor, a GM shift with the Houston Rockets. That is Daryl Morey, the longtime GM and probably the first guy to bring analytics into basketball, has decided to step away from the organization from his role as the team GM. With that in mind, Trevor, now with Morey out of the equation in Houston, should the Rockets, in your mind, blow up the roster and trade away Russell Westbrook and James Harden, or do they try to ride it out and go for it and run it back next season?
I think personally, since you got a new GM, I think you should ride it out, see what the new GM can offer the Houston Rockets. And blowing it up just will basically reset you where you are and just trading away key assets, unless you can get some good assets or good draft picks to build up a team that's going to be role-based team heavy, like the Toronto Raptors and the Miami Heat. If you're going that angle, then obviously you can blow it up. But if you're not going with that and you want to keep the star players, find that third star piece to make a big three, and then you'll be 100% a true contender in the West. They're already a contender, but they just can't get over that hump. So there's more like a pretender aspect to it. And don't get me wrong, Russell Westbrook is a great player and all, but just seeing how he played in the postseason, it wasn't that stellar because he literally almost blew a game to OKC, his former team, with Chris Paul, who literally didn't have too many great talents around him, and he forced a game 7. So it's one of those iffy things, like, was that really worth a good trade in that sense? So by all means, I would give this another season, maybe 2, after the GM gets established. But after that second season, I think you got to start thinking about disbanding the team and finding assets for younger talent.
Trevor, more so I think about Daryl Morey's role, though, with the NBA. Again, we know about what, of course, happened in the previous preseason in regards to the games being played in China, the tweet that went out, and so on and so forth, with the league pretty much having to, hightail it out of China due to, again, the comments made by Morey. But Trevor, more so in regards to what Daryl brought to the table, though, again, really, I think using the baseball strategy of like the Moneyball philosophy, running out small lineups and not really getting size in there. Trevor, does this probably in your mind maybe mark the end of a analytical era for the NBA with Morey leaving the Rockets organization?
I think so personally, but at the same time, it could be a start of something completely new in the analytical department. Seeing that, saying, analytics didn't really get a team to a title. Maybe we can use it to, try to figure out younger talent to see what their tendencies are. But if you're looking at older talent, their value slowly diminishing year after year. So if they had like a stellar season where they got 40 points for like the last 12 games before the postseason, you may be thinking can they do that again right around postseason and get me into that playoff hunt or playoff push that my team's looking for? So you could see it resurface, but right now I think the NBA is going to take a turn in a different direction and probably stay away from analytics and just see what raw talent can be developed and what people tendencies are going to become.
With that, folks, another game break coming your way. We'll keep you folks as posted as we can on this Atlanta-LA Dodgers game, but thanks to a solo homer from Corey Seager per Christy Wilson, it's now 2-1 Atlanta. Again, they had that third run taken off the board by a challenge by the Dodgers to end their half of inning number 3. With that, Isaiah, again, as mentioned, buddy, but Daryl Morey, the longtime GM of the Rockets, again, moving on to perhaps another chapter inside the NBA or maybe with the Rockets organization. But Isaiah, what do you make, though, in regards to the main talking point here? Should Houston blow up this roster now that Morey is gone, or give it one more whirl and see how it goes in 2020, 2021?
I'm going to say that I think they have to blow up this roster, but when I say that, I'm saying about Russell Westbrook. I think you have to trade Russell Westbrook because I just don't think he's a good fit for James Harden. Russell Westbrook is a guy that cannot play off the ball because he's a terrible shooter. He's a guy that needs the ball in his hand because he's a guy that, drives in and creates shots for other people just like James Harden does. So you basically have two guys on the same team that is ball dominant, that needs the ball in their hand. James Harden, I think he could play some off the ball considering the fact that he's a great shooter, but he's used to having the ball in his hand. So those two will never work together. I think that you have to explore some type of a trade for Russell Westbrook. I think you can try to go get maybe a Victor Oladipo or I'm just spitballing here, maybe Bradley Beal or whatever. That would be a better fit for Harden that can play off the ball. And then you could just have Harden be the point guard and run the offense while Beal or Oladipo comes off the ball, and it's a better fit. I think that would be you have more success that way if you're the Houston Rockets instead of having two ball-dominant players on your team.
Fair point. And again, folks, as a reminder, but Daryl Morey, the longtime Rockets GM, officially out as that team GM, probably in regards to, again, maybe some things. But once more, we love your thoughts, folks. So what should the Rockets do? They'll blow things up or keep it together? Some thoughts coming along here from Todd Mincy's thing. Todd says Tyronn Lue in his mind is a good hire for the Clippers. We'll have a bit more about the Clips momentarily here following a Lakers segment here. And also Todd says at least so the Rockets can stop living and dying by the three-pointer. I think, though, sadly, Trevor, I think we all would agree, though, but living and dying by the three is becoming the new thing in basketball, sadly. And also Christy Wilson writes in, she hopes that analytics dies in the NBA. They're good. but they can't win you championships. You can only play the numbers game so long, and I think Dusty Baker had a very, very great statement, though, to the media following the Game 6 win for Houston, or Game 5 win, is that I'm an old school guy. I look at the numbers, but I manage with my gut, not by the numbers. Christy would say, though, a Rockets fire sale, and she thinks that Westbrook is a ball hog, probably for sure. And also Todd says, though, the problem, though, with Houston, they are too guard heavy. Definitely agree. And also, again, you really can't run that small ball against teams like Los Angeles, both LA teams for that matter, again should be losing size inside. Trevor, with that, speaking of the Lakers and the reigning 2019-2020 NBA champs, their 17th title in franchise history, their 12th as well in Los Angeles. But of course, now, Trevor, some news coming out in regards to, again, seeing some players opting out, maybe to restructure contracts or go elsewhere. But of course, so the one big name, though, that has probably popped up, though, Trevor, on the radar is Kyle Kuzma, the last of the remaining young core the Lakers had between Ball and Randall, Josh Hart, Brandon Ingram, and those guys. Kuzma, the lone survivor of the Lakers' young core from 5 or 6 or 7 years ago. So, Trevor, reports coming out, though, that the Lakers are being offered pieces, or at least being offered to get him off, to trade him off the books pretty much. So, Trevor, the question here, should the Lakers trade Kyle Kuzma, given that a lot of NBA teams are currently expressing interest in his services? What do you think?
I'm going to say yes. You're trying to build a Lakers team that can last a few decades, or a decade after LeBron James is gone. So getting these assets right here, right now is a fantastic plan. Getting some experience with LeBron James, learning how to build team chemistry. It's like a win-win scenario. I don't know what you can get with Kyle Kuzma, but if you can get some really good assets, then you'll really be good for the long haul for the Lakers. So I think that's what they want to do. They want to be able to build another Laker dynasty that could win another 3 or 4 championships within the next decade.
Isaiah, I know that you already have a couple of landing spots. I think notably Indiana, maybe Washington, maybe a long shot Phoenix, perhaps, if they're stupid enough to deal away Devin Booker and a lot of young assets. But I would think, though, that the Lakers would listen to offers in my mind. But it would have to perhaps be, though, you stock up on maybe a Oladipo, a Beal, maybe a Booker, maybe even someone else from the Suns, if you in fact go your route of sending him to inside the division to the Suns. But that you would have to probably also stockpile first-round picks, maybe a couple of second-round picks to kind of, and again, prepare for life post-LeBron James. Don't I think, though? That's what I think, though, isn't really talked about a lot, though. I think, though, but Stephen Wang has been very vocal about that, Isaiah and Trevor, is teams don't set themselves up for the future after LeBron does leave that organization. Look at Miami for a bit, Cleveland for sure after he left the first time, and even after the second year he left after 2016 to go to Los Angeles, is that the Lakers, I think, though, would be smart enough to not play stupid. I would think, though, they would listen to offers, though. I would think, though, that probably a priority would be a guy, though, that probably LeBron, really boasts a lot about, like, for example, a Bradley Beal. I could even see a guy like a Oladipo coming to LA from Indiana. But again, it would have to be maybe a package deal where it's Kuzma, maybe another one of your, lesser value guys, maybe a draft pick perhaps too. I would think, though, the main 2 bargaining chips is Kuzma and probably that 28th or 29th overall first-round pick for this year's draft. But Isaiah, maybe lay out your thoughts on a potential trade package for the Lakers to perhaps, for one, get Kuzma off the books, though, but also perhaps stock up on maybe one more superstar and also perhaps some future draft stock as well. Isaiah, you're muted.
I agree with you, Callan. I think the Lakers should only trade Kyle Kuzma if they can get another all-star like an Oladipo or Bradley Beal, or if Phoenix is stupid enough to trade him, Devin Booker. But because I think that you have to not only prepare for life after LeBron James, you have to prepare for the increasing chance that Giannis Antetokounmpo goes to the Miami Heat. It's looking more and more likely, given, Milwaukee, they choked this year, and they also, they're kind of cash strapped right now with what they have. So they can't really go out and go get another all-star to pair with Giannis Antetokounmpo. So if they go out again next postseason and not win the championship or even get to the NBA Finals, then I think Giannis Antetokounmpo is definitely going to leave the Milwaukee Bucks, and I think the Miami Heat is going to be one of his top destinations. So you got to prepare for the fact that he's going to go to Miami and form that super team with Jimmy Butler and Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson and all those guys, Bam Adebayo as well. So I believe that the Lakers right now and for their future, they need to aggressively pursue a third star behind LeBron James and Anthony Davis, because if you can get that third star like an Oladipo or Beal or maybe even DeMar DeRozan, you will have a massive advantage over all the teams in the NBA for this season, which will guarantee you that championship for next season, and also it will also guarantee you it won't guarantee you a chip for the following year, because we don't know like how the pieces are. We don't know what Kawhi is going to do. We don't know what Paul George is going to do. We don't know what Giannis is going to do, but it sets you up very good for the year afterwards. So if I'm the Lakers, I would deal Kyle Kuzma to Indiana for Victor Oladipo, because I just think Oladipo fits the Lakers perfectly, because first of all, he's only got 1 year left on his contract. He's making $21 million. So you can easily slide him in behind LeBron James and Anthony Davis, who are both going to be making like $30+ million. You slide Oladipo in, and then you can have a little bit of money left to bring Rondo back, maybe bring Dwight back on a veteran minimum contract, maybe bring Boogie Cousins back. And then another reason why I think Oladipo will be a great fit for the Lakers is because, first of all, you will be able to get him for less than a Bradley Beal, because I think Bradley Beal, he has 3 years left on his new contract that he signed with Washington, and I think Washington right now, he's their best player. They're going to want a lot for him. So I don't know if Kuzma and a first-round pick and one of your lesser players, maybe like a Danny Green, would be able to get that job done. I think Oladipo, you can get him for less. I think Kuzma, maybe a first-round pick, a Danny Green, and maybe an Alex Caruso could get it done, because Indiana knows Oladipo is definitely going to leave after this season. I don't believe he's staying in Indiana after this season. So you have to get some type of compensation for him so you don't let him walk for nothing. And he's coming back from a torn ACL. The guy only averaged 14 points a game after he came back from the injury. So I don't think a lot of teams are going to, offer Indiana a massive package like what the Lakers did for Anthony Davis or what the Celtics did for Kyrie Irving to the Indiana Pacers for Victor Oladipo. So the Lakers will be able to get him for less. And last but not least, Oladipo just fits really well behind LeBron and AD. He has a lot of familiarity with Frank Vogel because he played for Frank Vogel for 2 years with the Orlando Magic. And also, he's a great wing defender. The Lakers badly need a wing defender, and they also need a guy who can take some of the load of the scoring off of LeBron and AD, and Oladipo fits that bill perfectly.
I definitely agree, and again, it'll be interesting to see how they make the wheels turn, though, but definitely it would have to be Kuzma, probably a Caruso, maybe a veteran like Danny Green, maybe even, I don't want to say this, but maybe even a Avery Bradley, perhaps, too, to just kind of make that deal a little bit sweeter, and maybe, of course, that draft pick as well. And Christy agrees with me. The Lakers need to prepare for life after LeBron. That's what I've said, though, in regards to, again, maybe stockpiling some pieces as time does move on. Trevor, with that in mind, though, a very damning revelation came out per ESPN and maybe some other NBA sources over the past day or two, but some more internal strife and dysfunction among the LA Clippers, at least, per reports gathered, that Lou Williams, Montrezl Harrell, and Patrick Beverley voiced their displeasure with the Clippers front office, and for that matter, too, as well, their former head coach now in Doc Rivers, after hearing reports of Kawhi Leonard and Paul George getting the superstar treatment of, in a way, kind of being on their own and not being a part of the team itself, though. They kind of, in a way, were allowed to skip practices, not play in games, and also Kawhi Leonard was more so given the short end of a stick, though, for him still living here in San Diego, the Clippers' former home, for a bit here before they moved to L.A. in the early 80s. But Kawhi still living here in San Diego, of course, went to San Diego State University, but was also late for team flights out of LAX, so they would have to wait for him to get to LA from San Diego. And Trevor, I think, man, this kind of in a way just makes this whole entire Clippers season that much more of a soap opera drama between what we heard after Game 7 against Denver when they, of course, blew that 3-1 lead, though, and you're hearing about Paul George giving some very rah-rah, kind of bland and boring, let's stick together speech after the game, and everyone looks at him like, why are you talking? You literally scored 10 points in this game, and you were hitting the side of the backboard with your shots. I would probably put a sock in it, buddy. And now you have this other news here about Kawhi Leonard. Again, probably one of the main superstars the Clippers have had in a very long time, post Griffin and DeAndre Jordan and Chris Paul. So, Trevor, this, though, man, just opens up another can of worms, though, with this LA Clippers organization. Trevor, give us your thoughts here about 3 of the veteran players on this Clipper ball club, in a way, snitching on Kawhi Leonard for, again, in a way, kind of getting that superstar treatment.
I think it's just the beginning, the end of this Clippers team. Like, we all thought they were going to at least get a championship out of it. But I think seeing all the drama that they have and the superstar treatment, there's no way for a team to even win that if you have superstar treatment. It's going to be a team effort to win a title, no matter what you even look at it. Look at all the teams who ended up winning a ring. It came down to team chemistry. If you don't have that team chemistry and everything working together as a well-oiled machine, kiss your championship goodbye and your championship hopes goodbye. Because it's not going to happen with drama trying to win a ring. That's all I'm going to have to say on that.
Isaiah, I know a lot of people were very quick. I think you, me, and I think a lot on this panel that sits here every weekday or every day for that matter and, debates and banters and discusses the sports world. I think we all kind of thought that the team chemistry was an excuse from Doc Rivers and from these players. But it turns out, though, Isaiah, we were all wrong, flat out wrong, and falling flat on our faces because we had the whole, thing of Paul George and this whole rah-rah speech about, oh, let's stick together, forget what happened and let's come back next year. And you had players in a way kind of, going right up to his face saying, dude, you scored 10 bleeping points in this game. Who the hell are you to say this sort of stuff in regards to, let's sit together and, let's keep playing. And then you have another layer added well past their elimination from the bubble, but news coming out of them of both George and Leonard kind of in a way being told, oh, you can sit this game out or you can skip practice today. Or in Kawhi Leonard's case, you are literally living in the former market of your franchise in San Diego. Yeah, you played here at San Diego State, but you're in a way turning your back on the LA city or the city that you're playing your games in, still living in San Diego, flying up or being late for flights. And I think, Isaiah, it's another layer on top of what already, as Christie would say, though, or says, though, is a total dumpster fire for this organization. And again, Isaiah, at this rate, I don't see, though, how this ball club can come back and how Kawhi or even Paul George can patch up the holes that they have made with this Clipper organization. Isaiah, what are your thoughts on this whole situation?
My thoughts are exactly what Christy Wilson's comment was. The Clippers are a total dumpster fire from top to bottom. I mean, this is exactly why I said this was exactly why I really didn't like the Ty Lue hire, was because I knew that he didn't hold anybody accountable in Cleveland. He was going to get stepped all over, or he did get stepped all over by LeBron, Kyrie, and Kevin Love. And this Clipper team, they need a guy that can stand up to superstars, that can stand up to Kawhi, stand up to Paul George and say, hey, you got to be held to the same standards as these role players like a Lou Williams or Montrezl Harrell. You can't be getting any special treatment. I don't care if you're the superstar of your team. We are a team. We either win together or we lose together. That has to be the mantra if you're the LA Clippers. And I just don't like the hire by for Lou, or I don't like the Lou hire because he's not going to do that. He's going to keep allowing Kawhi Leonard and Paul George to do whatever the hell they want, and it's just the tension is just going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then they're going to explode. And I just think that at the end of the day, I do not see this Clipper basketball team winning a championship ring because of these different standards that are held in the organization and all the tension that is in the organization right now.
Yeah, this sort of stuff can absolutely not happen in my mind in team sports, whether it's middle school, high school, JV, varsity, college, junior college, D1, D2, D3, NAIA. Pros, you cannot have individuals on a team like this, and you just can't give special permission or privileges to anyone out there to, take advantage or exploit the coach or the GM. fellas, I played, baseball my entire life. And yes, my dad coached me, but he didn't play the daddy ball thing. I never got to lead off. I never played shortstop every inning. I would bat in the bottom part of the order. I would play the outfield, and he would do the things to show that he wasn't going to play favorites to the rest of the team, whether it was travel ball, whether it was youth basketball, roller hockey. He wouldn't do any of that sort of stuff. He would never put me ahead of everyone else, and he would show to everybody, he's been doing that for over 30 years, he'd never put me or my brother ahead of anybody else on any roster any given day. And in pro sports and in sports in general, you can't do this sort of stuff. You can't just let, for example, he would never let me just skip a practice because I didn't want to go to practice one day. I was going to go whether I wanted to or not back when I was younger. But even then in pro sports, though, this sort of petty stuff, petty BS in my mind, cannot happen. And I think it's even worse, though, when it's magnified in my mind by the fact of you're letting a player live away from Los Angeles. And above all, a city you left back in the 80s in San Diego. You went to L.A. out of San Diego, and Kawhi Leonard still is living down here, and he's missing flights to join the team on road trips. I don't get this whole ordeal, and I think I don't see this experiment working past this upcoming season for the L.A. Clippers organization. I don't see this ball club getting over that hump anytime soon. With that, Isaiah has one more thing to bring about the NBA. It is in regards to Russell Westbrook being linked to the New York Knicks. We'll let Isaiah get a drink of water here, but Isaiah, give us what you got here in regards to Westbrook, perhaps to the New York Knickerbockers.
You guys know the Knicks are kind of like the Lakers. They want superstars. They don't care about drafting and developing talent. So there's now reports that the New York Knicks, if Houston does in fact make Russell Westbrook available via trade, they're going to package Kevin Knox and a bunch of draft picks and a bunch of their young talent to Houston for Russell Westbrook just to land that marquee star for their ball club. And I just think that really, New York, you don't have any better superstars to target than Russell Westbrook. Like, come on, man. Like, I can name like 8 superstars that you could target that's better than Russell Westbrook, and for you to build your team around. I just think that it's kind of a dumb thing for the New York Knicks and for the new president of basketball ops, Leon Rose, to do, because Russell Westbrook, he's a guy that brings a lot of energy to your team. He's a guy that's very fiery. He's a guy that is very aggressive. He needs the ball in his hand, and he always averages triple doubles, but the guy can't shoot. I mean, the Lakers left him wide open in that series from 3 multiple times because they knew that he was not going to be able to shoot the 3 ball. And in today's NBA, you have to have your stars and your players be able to shoot the 3 ball, because the 3 ball is just valued so damn high in today's NBA. So I think that this is so dumb. I think that the Knicks should target like a Devin Booker or a Victor Oladipo, even a Bradley Beal. I think they are better options than Westbrook for you to build your franchise around.
Trevor, I just wrote this in the comment box responding to Isaiah. Simple, buddy. The New York Knickerbockers are cheap, especially when you have James Dolan as your owner, Trevor. You know pretty well that it's not going to go over very well until this organization is sold from the Dolan ownership. Again, it's been an absolute train wreck, in regards to how the Knicks have been operating. But Trevor, give us your thoughts here. The Knickerbockers looking at Russell Westbrook, maybe, if in fact that he becomes available from Houston. What do you make about this move and why?
The Knicks, I think on the lines that they need to get to the postseason. That's the first goal. They got to become New York's team yet again, and then they're going to lose it. They're going to lose it to the Brooklyn Nets, and it's just going to be a sad day when it happens, and the Brooklyn Nets are going to win a title, and they're going to be able to go back-to-back potentially, and everyone's just going to hop on the Nets bandwagon, and then New York Knicks are going to be forgotten, and they're just going to be like a franchise that coulda, shoulda, woulda at this point in time. And, like, if you get Russell Westbrook, what are you going to do to build around him? Like, what other talent would want to play with Russell Westbrook at this point in time? It's like the young talent doesn't want to play with him. He didn't win a ring or anything. He's only been to the NBA Finals once in his career. So it's like, what kind of value does he really have to offer the New York Knicks at this point in time? That's how I say it. I feel like it would be a waste of money and salary cap space if you try to go after him.
Yeah, I think it would be, and also that you're losing that battle every seemingly day. It seems like with the Brooklyn Nets for superiority and supremacy in New York as well. But again, folks, perhaps Westbrook maybe to the New York Knickerbockers. Maybe we'll see how things go. With that in mind, fellas, over to Major League Baseball, game number 6 of the American League Championship Series, and the Houston Astros have come all the way back from a 3-0 deficit. They knocked off the Rays tonight in San Diego 7-4 to tie this thing up 3 games apiece going into game number 7 on Saturday from Petco Park in San Diego. The Astros, again, folks, coming back from a 3-0 hole put forth by the Rays. Trevor, oh my goodness, man. And I think I said it, though, last night on Thursday on Fan Response, though, is I know, of course, that Tampa Bay was a very good ball club. However, though, man, post-season experience, sadly, in my mind, is coming to the surface in regards to the Rays not being there for a while in the postseason. Young ball club, not a lot of veterans or star talent on this roster. But yet the Astros, despite 2017 and despite what you may think of them as a baseball fan, Trev, here they are. They've been here, once again in the postseason. They've been there before. I know about 2017, yes, folks, but again, It's still though is postseason experience, whether or not 17 happens or not. So, Trevor, give us your thoughts here, man, on this very wild series going on in San Diego.
Welcome to Game 7, ladies and gentlemen. They came back from 3-0. The first time I ever seen this in sports in a while. So I hope the Astros can pull it off and stun the world. I know they're out to prove themselves and say, hey, we won a title without cheating in a weird pandemic scenario, but I feel like people still criticize them and say, make up a story and be like, they're the ones who created the pandemic or something like that to give them another cheating scandal to come up with. So I think it's going to be interesting how this Game 7 unfolds out, but I just hope that we have a fantastic Game 7 to watch at this point in time.
I would agree for a Game 7. I do think, though, sadly, that Tampa Bay, they probably have, I think in a lot of people's minds, they've lost this series. I think that they have lost it 3-up, and now you're staring down the barrel of pulling an 0-4 Yankees, of blowing a 3-0 series lead now. And, of course, you saw what happened when, in fact, they blew that lead. The Red Sox won the World Series that year. Isaiah, back and forth the series has gone, man. A wild series, very entertaining, though, but sadly, man, like I said, though, sadly, postseason experience is showing its ugly head right now here in San Diego.
I can't believe what I saw, man. I really can't believe it. I cannot believe the Tampa Bay Rays are about to blow a 3-0 lead and let the entire United States of America down. I really cannot believe that this is happening. The Rays look like the dominant team for the first 3 games of the series. I mean, we all thought the Astros were done. They couldn't pitch, they couldn't hit, they couldn't play defense. And then voila, all of a sudden, the Astros have rattled off 3 straight wins. And if you guys watch the game today, you'll probably agree with me. The Rays, they look done. They looked done. Guys were extremely frustrated. Guys were screaming and, getting pissed off after striking out or getting out after their at-bats. They were breaking bats over their knees. That's when you know that this team is extremely upset. They're extremely frustrated. They know that they are done. And I think the Houston Astros are going to win Game 7 because now the Rays, all the pressure is on the Rays because Houston, they were not even supposed to make the playoffs. This is a team that was aided by the expanded playoffs because they had a losing record. They were aided by the expanded playoffs, and they had nothing to lose. They're playing with nothing to lose. They're playing with a chip on their shoulder, and nobody expected them to get where they are right now. Many people expected them to lose in the wild card round, but they got to the ALCS. And then when they went down 3-0, everybody was like, yeah, it's over, man. Even me and you, Callan, we both said on the program that it was over for the Astros. but the Astros have rallied back, and now all the pressure is on the Rays because if they lose Game 7 tomorrow, they will be the first team since the 04 Yankees to choke a 3-0 lead, and they're going to be in the record books for the wrong reasons.
All the wrong reasons for sure. And I think, though, that, guys, some comments came in, and some of them are some pretty damn good content here from the viewers. First, Casey King tuning in, checking in with us. Of course, his daughter's still playing right now. Hi, guys. Cannot believe the cheaters are still around. They were dead, buried, and gone, and yet they woke up from the casket like the Undertaker. Sally, it's the gif of the Undertaker rising out of the casket on WWE SmackDown. Christy, though, I think has the best comment here, guys, for this segment. The only difference here, there's no excitement for a Game 7 in the series in her mind. I agree. I kind of feel like it's kind of like an anomaly or inevitable if the Astros probably win tomorrow's game in probably dominant fashion over the Rays. And also, Casey says, unfortunately, they're likely going to win the series, but God, I hope I'm wrong and the Rays pull it off. We all agree, though, Casey, believe us. My man Espin writes in, great energy from all of you. Thank you very much, buddy, for tuning in. And also Christy Wilson says the 04 ALCS was special because coming back from an 03 deficit was unheard of back then. And, of course, now we have the jokes about 3-1 leads and now even 3-0 leads. And also Dave Roberts says, if Dusty Baker, who, like Dave Roberts, has been accused over the years of not handling a pitching staff, could be in the World Series and not Dave Roberts, is a sad state of affairs. And, of course, Baker and Roberts probably, I would agree, though, for a long time, always, I think, chastised by, how they would, in fact, work their bullpen. I think notably with me and Dusty Baker, the 0-2 World Series in Game 6 versus the Anaheim Angels when they were up 5-0. They pulled out Russ Ortiz, and it went down south there between –
Don't remind me, Callan.
I believe it was after Russ Ortiz, it was Rodriguez and then Rob Nen blowing Game 6 in 2002. For the Giants, and of course the Angels win the World Series in Game 7, 4-1, thanks to Garrett Anderson's bases clearing double off Levon Hernandez in that ball game so long ago from Edison International Field of Anaheim at that time. With that, Trevor and Isaiah, the other game going on still right now, but keeping a close eye on the Dodgers and the Braves. Game number 5 from down in Arlington, Texas, and again, right now the Braves still hold on to a very brief 2-1 lead over Los Angeles, and of course, Trevor. Magnified in this series, of course, man, once again, is the Dodgers. Once again, their offense scuffling, pitching not being there. And again, the same old broken record playing on a constant loop for 8 straight years, Trevor. If, in fact, the results hold up for one, the Dodgers are again out of the postseason for the 8th straight year without making or winning the World Series. And also the Braves go to the World Series for the first time since 1999. As a reminder, Prince wrote an album about 1999 and said he would never play it ever again. That's how long it's been for the Atlanta Braves. But Trevor, pretty much here, man, give us your thoughts on the series. And again, is it pretty much, though, buddy, in your mind, looking like, once again, here's the LA Dodgers, a great regular season, but once more, nothing again to show for it in the postseason?
I'm going to have to agree with you with that statement, Cal. They had a great regular season, but fall up short in the postseason. It literally looks like NBA teams where we have like the Toronto Raptors, great regular season, but just couldn't get done in the postseason. The regular season, yes, it has value, but when you play so many games like in a typical normal season for MLB, those games don't really matter that much. You just have to get to the postseason and get hot at the right time and win it all. That's all you have to do. It's not that difficult to do, and just stay hot when you're hot. So that's how I see it. Like, if they can stay hot in the postseason, I feel like, the Dodgers could win a ring. But it's not there. They falter in the postseason, and it hurts them year after year. And stop hurting the fan base. Give them some hope. Get to a World Series and win it. That's what they want in LA. They are all about championships, and you're not delivering. If you're not delivering, you got to get out of this city. Get out of this city. You don't belong in LA. LA is a crown of winners and champions, and you got to live up to that.
Isaiah, again, in perspective, buddy, the last time the Dodgers won a World Series, my older brother was 3 years old. I wasn't born yet in 1988. Of course, they beat the A's that year to win the World Championship. Of course, the famed Kurt Gibson home run limping out to the on-deck circle. But Isaiah, I think, though, that our resident Dodger fan in the chat box, Casey has some great points, though. The offense needs to get going, and they need to quit swinging for the fences and play small ball to get runs in. And he says they have no heart right now. That's the point I drove home on Fan Response on Thursday, Isaiah. To me, it just seems like Atlanta wants this more than the Dodgers. The Dodgers, you can rely on postseason experience, yes, but only so much, though. And you're like, yeah, we got this. We beat Milwaukee. Yeah, we beat the bums in San Diego. We took care of them. We beat these teams in 5. It was pretty much no big deal and stuff like that. But at the same time, though, when you have a team like the Braves, similar to San Diego, young, entertaining, exciting, full of life and pretty much full of heart, man, they're going to rip your heart right out of your stomach and right out of your sternum if you're not careful. And so far, to me, it feels like the Dodgers have sleptwalked throughout this entire postseason because, yeah, we took care of Milwaukee. Yeah, we took care of the Padres and, those two, crappy ball clubs we played. But now they're facing a very good team right now in Atlanta. And I think Lola Christie has a great point, though, Isaiah. She thinks that perhaps LA underestimated Atlanta because of perhaps the division they played in, but also more than anything else, though, they didn't play each other in the regular season, which I think magnifies this entire series. So, Isaiah, give us your thoughts here more so about this series going on between Atlanta and Los Angeles.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I think that the Dodgers, they just haven't gotten the production from the top, like the guys that they pay a lot to produce, and that is Mookie Betts. He struggled big time in, I believe it was Game 4. Yeah, Game 4. Clayton Kershaw, in the biggest start of his career in Game 4, goes out and gives up 4 runs over 5 innings and only strikes out, I believe, 2 batters. He wasn't his usual dominant self. Cody Bellinger hasn't looked good this postseason. Corey Seager, he's the one that's been doing really good for the Dodgers. Max Muncy, another guy, he hasn't looked good at all. AJ Pollock, a guy that the Dodgers have paid a lot of money to. He's been often injured, and also he hasn't produced. A lot of the guys that they pay a lot of big bucks to produce, they aren't producing, and that's the biggest issue for the Los Angeles Dodgers. If these guys that you pay a lot of big bucks to don't produce, then you're going to lose, plain and simple.
Absolutely. And I think, though, that Casey Guy's our resident Dodge fan in the chat box, and I think he said it better, though. The offense needs to get going, and they have to quit swinging for the fences and play some small ball to get runs in. Isaiah, we were actually a 2-man game between you and me here, buddy. But we were talking after Wild Sports Talk on Friday, after, again, we had John Schaefer on from Extra 1360 Fox Sports San Diego in our post-show group chat on Facebook, was that we were reminiscing a bit about when we first came here to MI6 in July, and we were recalling John Mappis's outburst on the air when the Dodgers were in Houston playing the Astros, and we were trying to make our points, but John was so pissed off at his television but rightfully so, though, the Dodgers offense, these guys are nothing but free swingers, and like I've said, though, mainly about Bellinger and Muncy, bona fide automatic outs because they are always trying to hit the long ball. What's so wrong nowadays of a gapper base hit or a double or a stand-up triple or even just a little flare that falls in for a single or a walk? Your life does not depend on hitting the ball over the fence. Yes, the Padres did that with 4 grand slams in 4 straight games, though. But you also got to find a way to grind out at bats, get guys on base, bunt them over, do the small ball things. And I know that that's kind of been lost in the shuffle because of numbers and launch angle and exit velo and all this other absolute nonsense of garbage stats in my mind. But Isaiah, would you agree, though, that more so this playoff exit, if in fact it does happen tonight, or they still lose this series, though, this will fall more on the LA offense more than it would on their pitching for a change?
Yes, I agree with it. And I got something interesting I want to talk about, the why the Dodgers, I feel like, are just constantly swinging for the home run ball. It's because I feel like that I feel like the pressure and the doubt has creeped into their mind, because right now, as Casey mentioned, they're just swinging at every pitch, trying to launch the ball out of the ballpark because they know they are on life support. They're down 3-1 in the series. If they lose, they're eliminated. They're down 2-1 in the game, so they're just hacking at every pitch, trying to launch that home run and tie the game and get that pressure off of them. It's the pressure that makes teams do that. It's the same thing why the A's in Game 4 would always they always just tried to hack home runs and they couldn't hit a damn fastball, for crying out loud, was because they felt that pressure. They felt that pressure that they were the better team coming in. They talked a lot of trash about how they wanted the Houston Astros, and they ultimately couldn't perform because the pressure got to them. So that's why I think right now the Dodgers are just swinging at every pitch, because they the pressure has just gotten too much for them to handle.
Trevor, real quick, I know that Isaiah was referring to the A's talking a lot of mess towards the Astros or vice versa because of what they had banter-wise in the regular season. Again, the brawl earlier in the year with Ramon Laureano and Alex Cintron, though. But, Trevor, could the same sentiment, though, be said about the Dodgers maybe overlooking the NLCS and looking towards that World Series potentially against Houston that's perhaps also put them in this 3-1 hole?
I agree with that statement, Cal. And I think what they've gone through in this postseason, I think a lot of people said it in our fans tonight, that they underestimated all the teams that they ended up facing. It's like, oh, we're taking all these teams to Game 5 and there's really no challenge for us. This is our World Series to win. And now they got hit with a reality check, and now they're going to get eliminated from it. So I think at this point in time, I think they should take everybody seriously now. And hopefully next year they can get to the World Series and actually win the thing. So hopefully they can bounce back next year.
Isaiah, would you agree? Or we actually lost Isaiah. We'll get his thoughts in a second here. But again, folks, quick update on this ball game as of right now. In the top half of the sixth, it remains 2-1 Braves. Again, if the Braves win this game, folks, but if they win, they would again go to the World Series for the first time since 1999, when, of course, they lost to those vaunted New York Yankee ball clubs of the late 90s. With that in mind, I think we have Isaiah back. Isaiah, would you agree with the previous statement I said, though, that pretty much that maybe the Dodgers, while, of course, you were more so talking, or you were voicing your talk more so, or your take about the Astros and A's jawing with each other, do you think, though, perhaps that the Dodgers may have pulled the Clippers and perhaps overlooked Atlanta towards that potential World Series matchup with more than likely against Houston in your mind?
Yeah, I think they overlooked everybody, to be honest, because the Dodgers, I felt like they had an attitude coming in that they just have the best players on the planet. Mookie Betts, Cody Bellinger, they are unstoppable. They are invincible, and they're going to easily coast through everybody and go to the World Series and probably face either Houston or Tampa Bay. And now Atlanta has come in and gave them a reality check in the first two games of the series, and when they beat the brakes off the Dodgers, and the Dodgers, they just couldn't rebound from that reality check the Braves gave them, and now the Dodgers are in this precarious spot where if they lose, they're done.
With that, Trevor, the age-old question that probably is getting old amongst our Dodger fans and friends out there, but if the Dodgers somehow lose tonight and lose the series, or they fizzle out in the CS or get to the World Series but lose again, Trevor, is it finally time for LA to pull the plug on Dave Roberts as their manager?
Choo-choo, get on the train and send them out of here.
Okay, one vote for yes. Isaiah, how about you in regards to that statement in regards to firing Roberts if, in fact, the Dodgers lose tonight and lose the series, or they perhaps get to the World Series but still lose the whole thing again? Isaiah, are you there? Once again, the MI6 Sports Network, the proud home of technical difficulties at the worst possible time. But again, folks, give us your thoughts here. I think a lot of us probably would agree, though. Go for it, bud. What do you got for us?
Yeah, I think that Dave Roberts should be fired, because I just think that, how many years has he been there? Like 5 years now? He's been there for, I believe, 5 years, and he's gotten like immensely talented ball club after immensely talented ball club each and every year, and he just can't deliver. It's time for a new voice for the Dodgers, because if you can't get it done after 5 years with all that talent, then you will never be able to get it done, and it's time that someone takes your place, and let's see if they can take that team over the top.
Casey agrees with us, fellas. The Dodgers need a new voice in the dugout. Not sure who, but a change is needed. I definitely think all of us agree on that sentiment. With that, folks, we will actually pause here for a moment. Again, we've been kind of teasing this, but again, as you probably folks know very well, we'll be having ourselves our first annual MI6 Sports Network Halloween Spooktacular show coming your way on Halloween night. We actually did, in fact, folks, put out a pretty sick trailer and advertisement for this. We'll take a peek at that before we, in fact, move on into the latter part of tonight's show. But now, this feature presentation from the MI6 Sports Network. I sincerely apologize that final photo of the trailer gives you nightmares tonight, folks. I actually listened to the podcast last night, and I don't know if we played the ad last night, but I recall I may have been asleep listening to a program where he actually showed it off. And at the very end, when it kind of did the entire flash of me looking all bloody and gruesome, having nails in the back of my head, it like woke me up a little bit. But again, folks, that is our Network Halloween Spooktacular. Again, coming your way, folks, on Halloween night back here on the 6th. Again, the entire cast and crew, costumes and all. Multi-hour event, folks, to again, for one, celebrate our 1,000th Anchor Listen on the Anchor podcast app. And also, as well, celebrate the night and also, again, talk sports and, again, celebrate the Halloween festivities on the program. That trailer made by yours truly as well. Trevor, I saw you reacting down in the little squares we have here when you guys can't see us on camera. Trevor, any thoughts?
I actually love the trailer. I was so excited. I was like, yo, Callan really put some time and effort into it. I thank you so much for putting that little, I guess, special trailer for the MI6 network for a Halloween special. I can't wait for it. And it's going to be a good one. I wonder how many spooky takes are people going to give on that episode.
Yeah, we're not going to be calling it Isaiah's hot takes, but now his scary takes when, in fact, Halloween rolls around. Isaiah, it's the second time you've seen the trailer today because we already had a show earlier today, and I could see you reacting as well with that trailer.
I just love that you put that video of Steven dancing or trying to dance in a club in that video. It is so perfect. It goes so good with that music because let's face it, that video of Steven dancing without that music is already scary enough, but you put it in there with the scary music and stuff, it's perfect.
I kind of thought Steve would be like, what are you doing pulling up that archive footage that no one was supposed to see? Like it was supposed to be like eyes only on Snapchat. He's like, I love that he put that in there. It's perfect for the show. But again, folks, our Halloween Spooktacular coming your way. Halloween night back here on the 6th. Again, folks, you'll see the whole cast and crew here. Again, costumes and all. And again, sports talk, but also, again, celebrating our 1,000th Anchor podcast listen, inching ever so closer to 1,100, as a matter of fact, as of earlier today. With that, though, gents, we'll now move on over into our new installment of Pigskin Pick'em. Again, folks, we do this every Friday here on No BS, where, again, we give you our winners of 4 football games, 2 on Saturday and 2 on Sunday in both the college ranks and the NFL as well. Trev, we'll start with you, buddy, for our first game of Pigskin Pick'em. In college, it is Central Florida visiting Memphis. Who you got?
I like this matchup because this is like more of the contending of the American Conference. A lot of the teams that we've seen battle it out each and every year. And like for like the past 2 years, this has been the American Conference title game. So obviously he's going to live up to some expectation in some of the hype. But I'm going to think UCF will take care of business in this round of their meeting this year. So I'm going to go UCF on this one.
All right, Isaiah, 1 vote for the Central Florida Golden Knights. I believe it's their name. How about you?
I think that this game is going to be a shootout because you have two of the worst defenses in college football matching up in UCF and also Memphis. UCF, they are a tremendous offensive team. So is Memphis. UCF averages 582.3 yards per game. I'm going to go with the Golden Knights as well because I just think that this game, even though it's at Memphis, UCF has the more experienced ball club. Remember, this is the same team that went 12-0 a couple of years ago, and those guys are still on their team. So I think with experience, they will win this game.
I think experience wins. I'll go with USF as well. I know it's a road game at Memphis, but I'll go with Central Florida again. That experience factor for me does weigh heavy, so I'll go with the Golden Knights to knock off the Tigers. Next game, Trevor, the Big Daddy on Saturday night on CBS, the Dogs and the Tide. Again, probably not the same type of feel, though, in regards to the pandemic and the crowd, though, but still, though, it is Georgia versus Bama. Trev, who you got?
Roll Tide. The Tide shall win this game and make Georgia panic and lose their rank and probably drop down to the top 10. So I'm going to go Alabama.
All right, one vote for the Tide. Isaiah, give us your thoughts about Georgia winning.
I'm going to go with the Dogs. Kirby Smart becomes the first Nick Saban assistant to finally beat the teacher in 22 tries for all Nick Saban assistants. I think the reason why Georgia wins is because I'm old school, just like Callan. I think defense wins championships. And I think that Georgia has the perfect recipe to slow down Alabama's amazing up-tempo offense. They are a team that likes to run the football a lot, use the clock, play time of possession, and they have a great defense. I think this defense will be able to hold down Alabama's offense. I think Georgia's offense will put up just enough points because that Alabama's defense is crap. Stetson Bennett, the new Georgia quarterback, I think he will play well enough for Georgia to win this game. It's going to be a very close game. I really recommend you guys all to tune into this game. I predict that this is going to come down to the wire, and I predict that that Alabama defense will falter down the stretch, and Georgia will kick a game-winning field goal to win this game and knock off Alabama and finally show the world that, hey, we are at Alabama's level.
Roll Tide, roll. Simple as that for me. A couple thoughts here. Chrissy's going to go with Georgia, but she still thinks Bama will win. Casey says Georgia with the drunk ex-USC coach Steve Sarkisian coaching Bama. I wouldn't trust Sark. If Saban was there, Bama likely wins. Again, we don't know yet. Folks cannot confirm nor deny right now, but per report, Saban, pending results of testing done on Saturday, will be able to perhaps or not perhaps coach this game on Saturday. With that, fellas, to the NFL, 2 games of note that we're going to be doing for Pigskin Pick'em here. First up, Trevor, should be a good one. Green Bay visits Tampa Bay on Sunday. Who you got?
Give me the Swiss cheese. We're going to go with Aaron Rodgers taking down Tom Brady. Tom Brady's, front offensive line is just not doing it for him. And he made a mistake on one of his games. Thought it was 4th down, and it wasn't. And he just ended up screwing himself over, making him lose that game. So I think Aaron Rodgers is going to self that he still has stuff left in the tank. He can still beat top quarterbacks, and I think he's going to do a Super Bowl push this year, and that's why I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers.
All right, Isaiah, 1 vote for the Pack to beat the Bucks at Raymond James on Sunday. How about you?
Callan, Trevor, give me the cheese as well. The reason being is that, sorry, by the way, that this is not cheddar cheese. It's mozzarella cheese. I couldn't find cheddar cheese. I just brought this out. But the reason why I think the Packers will win is because the Packers are just more healthier than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers defense, which was already, not really good, they lost one of their best defensive tackles in B2B to a broken ankle on Thursday Night Football against the Chicago Bears. So that defense is going to be severely compromised. They are not good already. They lost one of their biggest pieces, so I think that's a huge blow for them. Tom Brady, he's a great quarterback, but the problem with the Bucs offense is that they they haven't had their full offense the entire year. Chris Godwin has missed some time, and when he's back, Mike Evans misses time, and then when those two are back, someone else gets hurt. And this week, you don't know if Godwin's healthy. You don't know if Evans is going to play. You don't know if the running back Leonard Fournette, if he's going to play. So there's just a lot of missing parts for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think they're going to be a good team. I think they're going to be a great team as the season rolls on. But I think the Packers, they just have more stability right now. So that's why I'm rolling with Green Bay.
Tampa in a squeaker. I really cannot bet against Brady. I know, of course, he had that blunder against Chicago back on Thursday night. And I like Tampa at home as well. And also Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, they're good, but 4-0 fellas at the same time, though they're bound to eventually stumble bump eventually. I do like Tampa at home and also as well. I'm going to go with Tampa simply because they're at home and also as well that Green Bay bound to lose eventually as well. I do like, and this is probably going to be a game though, guys. It probably boils down to maybe that one big mistake, a turnover late in the game, or a field goal perhaps somewhere. But I'm going to go with Tampa Bay at home. Last game for Picks and Pick'em, Trevor, should be another good game. Cleveland visiting Pittsburgh on Sunday. Who you got?
It's going to hate to break my heart, but I'm going to have to go with the Steelers on this one. I think Baker Mayfield kind of needs to get snapped back into reality against a real opponent. So I think the Steelers are going to be the true test. I feel like he's going to have a great game, but I feel like the Cleveland Browns are going to come up short in this one.
All right, Isaiah, we have one vote right now for Pittsburgh to beat Cleveland at home. How about you? You're muted, buddy.
Give me those brownies from Cleveland. I think the Cleveland Browns are going to shock the world and beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in a measuring stick game for their franchise. This is the biggest game in the last 10 years for the Cleveland Browns. I believe that the Cleveland Browns will answer the bell and come ready to play because they remember what happened last year against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They want to erase it. Myles Garrett is going to come back with vengeance. I believe that Baker Mayfield, he's not going to play. He's not going to be great, but I think he's going to play an okay to good type of a game and not turn the ball over and just let the run game carry him to the win.
Quick game break, fellas. Thanks to a Will Smith 3-run homer, LA is back on top 4-2, their first lead of the entire game so far. So right now that challenge call probably weighing or at least having some momentum for LA, but still though they're in the sixth inning, a long way to go still in the ball game again. And also the Braves still have a 3-1 lead over the LA Dodgers. And also, as mentioned, they're in the top half of a sixth inning right now in Arlington. With that in mind, I'm going to go with Cleveland as well because right now they're looking good. And again, I think though that it's more so a measuring stick ball game for Cleveland. We'll see how legitimate this Browns team is in my mind. If they win this game, they're probably, I think, in a good spot, the driver's seat. But if they lose, though, good measuring stick, but don't, jump off the ledge that quickly because of one loss against Pittsburgh. So I like Cleveland to win this game over the Steelers. But again, folks, we have, Central Florida, Memphis, Georgia, Alabama, Green Bay at Tampa Bay, and Cleveland at Pittsburgh for our Pigskin Pick'ems games of the weekend. With that, gents, it is now time to move over and into tonight's Power 5. All right, folks, it is Power 5 time, so get your list ready for our Power 5 Summit tonight. It's been one that I have been kind of waiting to do, but we finally got it going here, folks. But tonight, we are doing our Power 5 sports television theme songs today by virtue of our buddy Shareable Stephen Wang, kind of in a way criticizing the NBA on ABC and ESPN theme music during the NBA Finals, at least, not the regular season. So, Trevor, this was probably one of my favorite, if not hardest lists to make because, I'm a sports junkie as much as the next guy on the network here. And, having these actually in my music library to play at games I work or whatever, just to, have them lying around is probably my favorite Power 5 so far. So, Trev, we'll start with you for your Power 5 for sports television theme songs. What do you got?
For number 5, I moved this from my top 3 down to 5. It's Sunday Night Football by Carrie Underwood. So I like that song. It's catchy, especially back in 2006 when I was playing junior Pee Wee football and Sunday night football would come on. I get really excited for the primetime matchups. So I really like that, and that's why I put it at 5. Some great childhood memories.
Trevor, a quick question for that one. Were you a big fan too, like I was, but were you a big fan of the Carrie Underwood with Joan Jett last year? Because again, Joan Jett wrote the original song that became the SNF theme song.
Yes.
Absolutely. I just figured I'd ask. Go on to number 4.
All right. Number 4 is NBA Finals on ESPN. I just love it. I just picture all the, I guess, memes where people shoot the trash can, it goes slow-mo, and they back up, and then they trot away. That's basically what I like about that. It's just like that halftime trot. It's like they make that commercial break. That's why I put it as my number 4. Number 3 is CBS Sports for football. I love that theme. It's great and catchy. And I'll transition to my number 2. Number 2 is the Fox Sports theme. It's just perfect. When I first picture it, it's that primetime matchup between 2 legendary teams or legendary quarterbacks. And I always hear that theme when I was in junior Pee Wees playing football. And it was just like the theme that our team ran out to. It was just one of those magical moments where you always remember, and you hear that song play, you think it's football season or it's a primetime game about to go down. But my number 1, and will always still be my number 1 till the day they get rid of this, is the college football playoff theme. I always get hyped when it's turned on. I always imagine the top 10 matchups going at it, and it's always a night game when this song comes on. I love the college football playoff theme. It always gets me hyped and ready for college football.
All right, guys, we have a quick Power 5 from Christy Wilson. The NBA on TNT at number 5. Okay. The Monday Night Football theme from the 90s. I believe that was the Hank Williams Jr. version, if memory serves me correct. Christy agrees with you, Trev. She's got Carrie Underwood at number 3 on her list. Number 2, the current NFL on CBS theme. And for number 1, good old Round Ball Rock by Mr. John Tesh, a.k.a. the NBA on NBC theme song. Probably one of the greatest in my mind. Shardal also has his, I think. I think his got a little bit mixed up here. He probably had a couple other ones that he wanted to add in. But he's got the Sunday Night Football theme song at 5 and at 4. Then he's got the NFL on CBS at 3. That's a good choice right there. He's got the NHL on NBC theme at number 2. And number 1, he's got NBA on TNT for number 1. With that, Isaiah, we'll go to you now for your Power 5. Again, Power 5 sports TV theme songs. What do you got for us?
All right, I got a surprise for you guys for my number 1, but I'm going to go down the list from number 5 all the way down to number 1. Number 5 on the list is the Masters on CBS. Like every spring when you hear it, for some reason when I just hear it, it just feels like spring. You know, the flowers are blooming, the grass is green, the mountains are green. I don't know why. It just has that spring feel for me when I hear that Masters song. It just like, I don't know, it just spring arrives for me when that song is played. Number 4 has got to be that Carrie Underwood, waiting all day for Sunday night. Well, that's why I'm never going to be a singer, because you guys just heard that terrible singing.
But neither am I.
Yeah, that's my number 4. It's just, I'm so happy that NBC brought it back, because they took it away for, I believe, 2 or 3 years. And I really didn't like the one that they had for the last 2 or 3 years. That song is just so iconic. It represents Sunday Night Football so damn well. Number 3 for me has got to be the NHL on NBC song. That song is so upbeat. I love dancing to that song. It's so good. Let's see.
The fact that you hate hockey because of the Sharks blowing it, and yet you have an NHL theme song on your list is pretty surprising.
Well, Callan, I mean, if you listen to it, the beat of the song is just, it just makes you want to jump up and, you know, dance to it. But the second one's got to be the NBA on NBC's theme song. That song is so iconic. I think it's one of the most iconic theme songs in all of sports. And whenever you hear this song, I just picture Michael Jordan making that game-winning shot over I forgot who it was on the Utah Jazz, but Michael Jordan sinking that game-winning shot over the Utah Jazz. That's what I hear, or that's what I like imagine when I hear that theme song. And number one, ladies and gentlemen, here it is. Ladies and gentlemen, number one is the SEC on CBS song. This song right here, it's the song that you're going to hear tomorrow that Georgia plays Alabama. I love this song so much. It's so upbeat. And whenever you hear this song, it just feels like fall. It feels like football season has arrived. Every time I hear it, it's like, oh, yeah, here we go, baby. Another season of football. SEC on CBS is my number one.
So Isaiah's got the SEC on CBS theme song for his number one spot. By the way, Isaiah, to clarify, I believe Christy's trying to clarify who the shot was made over. It was Byron Russell, I believe, that the shot was made over with the MJ beating the Jazz in that final series. James Gonzalez chimes in no particular order, but NBA on NBC, all of the NBA on TNT themes, the 90s Monday Night Football, early 90s ESPN, SNF, and NBA on CBS back in the 80s for his Power 5. David Stotts is writing his in too. I could see it. At number 5, he's got the NBA on TNT. We'll get back to his list in a moment here. With mine, though, I actually have 3 honorable mentions for my Power 5 here. First of all, NFL on Fox is a honorable mention because I had other things on my list here, but of course, NFL on Fox, MLB on Fox, even though they use that theme song for a bit. My other 2, though, the NHL on ESPN, Gary Thorne era, back when they had ESPN, and also the NHL on Fox Sports, your local Fox affiliate, always gets me in the mood for a hockey game if I'm working games in San Diego. Also, back to David, he's got number 4, Carrie Underwood's SNF. She sadly did not make my Power 5. Also, real quick, David has the WWF Raw 2000s theme song. I believe that, if memory serves me correct, was that Across the Nation by Union Underground? I might be wrong about that with the early 2000s. And also, David says the 90s for Monday Night Football on ESPN. And then we'll wait for his number 1. But again, my honorable mentions was NFL on Fox, NHL on ESPN, and on Fox. I agree, though, with Isaiah. Number 5 for me, though, is the Masters. It puts you in the frame of mind of springtime, you know, and you always hear a tradition unlike any other. Just like here, technical difficulties on the MI6 Sports Network. A tradition unlike any other, but also the warm welcome of Jim Nantz. Hello again, friends, and welcome to Augusta National. And, of course, you think of Tiger Woods winning it there so many times. You think of other, you know, legendary golfers like Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer playing up a tournament. Also, actually, guys, Shri has, I mean, not Shri, Shardul has a very great underrated that was not even considered. The Olympics on NBC has got to be another one of the most, you know, notable theme songs out there. And by the way, David's number 1 is a UFC pay-per-view intro from the mid-2000s to the mid-2010s. And James, I agree with his, though, too. The TBS MLB theme song is very underrated as well. I would definitely agree 100%.
I've never heard it, actually, to be honest. I have never.
It's actually pretty catchy. Turner does a very good job with their theme music. But again, folks, for me at number 5, I'm going with the Masters, as mentioned, though. But Shardul, had a great one, though, the Olympics on NBC being probably my 4th honorable mention. For me, guys, number 4 is actually CBS Sports' March Madness theme song. There was a video that came out back in May of a piano player who actually played like every theme song we had missed during the COVID-19 pandemic. The first one he played was March Madness. Then he played the MLB on Fox theme. Then he played the Olympics. Then the graduation exit theme song as well. But also March Madness for me from CBS. Number 3, NBA on TNT for me. I just kind of get the, you know, that vibe of like, you know, EJ and Shaq. You know, Charles Barkley, Kenny Smith, and also my go-to girl, Candace Parker, wearing her 2018 All-Star Game shirt. Again, doing great work with Turner Sports and also their coverage, too, during March Madness. Number 2 is the regular NBA on ESPN theme song, not the one that, of course, Steven was whining about during the postseason. But, of course, fellas, for me, though, this is probably everyone's number 1. Even for me, it's number 1. But, of course, it is this thing right here. The Round Ball Rock by John Tesh has got to be like the most well-known sports television theme song in my mind because of the nostalgia that the song brings up, but also even for, someone like me growing up in the 90s, not being able to see Michael Jordan play, though, but also someone who religiously played NBA Showtime at like Chuck E. Cheese or at Boomers, the Family Fun Center, or on his PS2. Definitely, I think, is the most well-known. And also, by the way, Fox actually has the rights now to that theme song during college basketball season. And they also played it, too, on NBC during the 16 Olympic Games, too. And I thought, they're bringing it back. Round Ball Rock is back. And, of course, John Tesh, guys, a well-known Entertainment Tonight host back in the day and also a composer, wrote this song while he was on vacation in London, I think. And he told the story at Red Rocks when he played the theme song live to an audience many years ago. But he said that he did not have a piano. He was staying at the hotel, so he actually called his house phone and left a message like, here's what I'm thinking, and he actually sang the theme song into his answering machine, and then he ended up writing Opportunity. Of course, it's best known, of course, for all the Bulls back in the 90s, and like the high point of like some of these ball clubs like the Jazz and the Bulls, the Sonics even, the Suns back in 93, and all the nostalgia that it does, in fact, bring on. With that, some other thoughts here. Also, David agrees with me. March Madness is definitely a great song as well. Also, real quick, Casey says his Power 5, NFL on Fox, NHL on ESPN or ABC, the 80s version of the Monday Night Football theme song, NBA on CBS of the 80s, and how about MLB on NBC back in the 90s, or 80s, I should say. A lot of good ones there. And also, James says, I always like the One Shining Moment segment after every college basketball championship game. And Christie's honorable mention, MLB on Fox. I would think it would have to be the one that they're playing now, not the NFL version like it was at one point in time. And also, James says the Pots and Pans theme of the NFL and CBS in the late 80s has got to be up there as well. But also, I think Chardal, though, guys, had the best one, though, that was not even touched upon here, the Olympics on NBC. But something iconic, though, when you hear the Olympic theme being played, I think back, though, to the movie Miracle, written by Disney Studios about the 1980 hockey team. And they had some archive footage of the late, great Jim McKay, I think, when he was working for ABC back then, that they used in the movie, talking about Team USA and the men's team upsetting Czechoslovakia. They were really good behind the Soviets back in the 80s, and they beat them 7-3, I think. And hearing the Olympic theme then, and of course, 2018, the women's team wins the gold medal over Canada. And of course, the Olympics are always fun for me. I think you guys would agree, though, Trev and Isaiah, because you get to watch sports you don't always watch, like track and field, tennis, boxing, taekwondo, judo in the summertime. Then you think about the wintertime. You probably don't watch hockey a lot. So you watch hockey, you watch curling, the biathlon, cross-country skiing, snowboarding. So it's fun to kind of see, what we are good in the States and what we're not good in, and what we, see some of these other, sensational athletes like, the biathlon or cross-country skiing and stuff like that. So definitely Chardal, best one, though, with the Olympic theme song on NBC. With that in mind, fellas, we'll now move over. Again, guys, great Power 5 there. That was very fun, though, to kind of get everyone's thoughts here. And also, Christy agrees that the NBC Olympic theme song is one of her favorites as well. And also, again, it helps ramp up your patriotism. Like, okay, we're going to be playing for the gold medal in water polo or swimming and diving. Let's go Team USA. With that, guys, we'll now move over into tonight's final thoughts. All right, time to put the final cherry on top, folks, for episode 12 of season 2 of No BS here on this October 16th, 2020. Mr. Williams, we'll go to you first for your final thoughts for tonight's show. What do you got for us?
It was a fantastic show. It's been thrilling from start to finish. I just can't wait for Big Ten football, so I'm just excited for it. Just keep marking down my calendars and realizing that, hey, Ohio State football will be back. And hopefully at some point in time, they will allow us to come back in the stadium and allow the students, get that stadium rocking. So fingers crossed, in late November they may allow us to come back into the stadium for that.
Let us in. Let us in. We'll see how things go. And, of course, Trev, good luck to the Buckeyes, of course, as they open up Big Ten play next Saturday night up there in Columbus. With that, Isaiah, we'll go to you now for your final thoughts for the night show. What do you got?
It was a fantastic show, Callan, Trevor. I want to thank all of our tremendous viewers for watching this show tonight. Christy Wilson, Casey King, James Gonzalez, Shardo Gupta, David B. Stott, and let's see, Stephen Wang. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Or Gio and Todd Mintz. Thank you guys so much for watching the show and supporting us. We really, really appreciate you guys. Really hope that you guys tune in for the Halloween spooktacular. It's going to be so much fun for us dressing up in costume and just sitting down on the table, eating some Halloween cookies and candy or whatever, and talking about sports. That's going to be so much fun. I can't wait for that. And I also can't wait for tomorrow's Georgia-Alabama game of the year tomorrow. It's going to be great. I'm hoping that I will be able to go on the night shift tomorrow, a happy man, that Georgia will come over and, upset Alabama. But my final thoughts is something that we haven't touched on in any of our programs so far here on the MI6 Sports Network. And this news broke, I believe it was on Monday it broke. But rest in peace to Big Baller Brand. It's an end of an era. LaMelo Ball officially signed with Puma yesterday. Lonzo Ball, now there's reports that he has left Big Baller Brand. This was a company started by a family that, they had a lot of bright ideas about what they wanted to do, and they were a family that, even though their idea didn't go so far, but I'll give them credit. They went out and actually pursued a dream when a lot of people would not do what they did. I know, like LeVar and his stupid antics and the shoe prices being very expensive, but hey, they went out and, they became the first company to, to do a shoe that wasn't Nike or Adidas or Puma or any of these other top name companies. They wanted to do something new, something special. And I got to give LeVar Ball, Lonzo Ball, LaMelo Ball, LiAngelo Ball, and Tina Ball a lot of credit for, just going out there and trying to pursue a dream, even though it didn't end up being successful.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they tried and it didn't stick to the wall. I mean, it was good, though, of course, that they at least give it a whirl, but it sadly did not pan out. With that, guys, my final thoughts as usual. Another great week here of weekday coverage, but of course, folks, plenty more to come on Saturday and Sunday on the night shift here with myself and Isaiah, 10 o'clock Pacific time as well in regards to our programming this week. And again, folks, thanks again for your outstanding support. Again, mainly more so, again, like Shardal and David, Christy, again, believe me, when in fact more revenue comes in for the network, we'll be again sending you guys some network swag, hopefully by early next year, hopefully. Also, though, David has a great point, though, those in regards to the Ball family. When you charge $95 for a Kmart white tee with a cheaply printed logo on that phrase after one wash, I'm not surprised. The laughing out loud in regards to the Ball family. But again, folks, we thank everybody again for tuning in, for your likes, your comments, your support. And again, we'll do our best to have bigger and better programming, folks, over the weekend on Saturday and on Sunday. And again, folks, as a reminder, but again, in just over 2 weeks' time, roughly, but again, the MI6 Sports Network will have its first annual Halloween Spooktacular right here for a multi-hour event. As mentioned, the entire cast and crew of the network here in costume with the lights out, as it already is here in San Diego. But again, we'll be having ourselves a great time here, multi-hour event. So again, come on by with some candy, come on by in your costume and watch us talk sports. And again, probably as well, talk about how, in fact, this network has grown in just a very short amount of time, as Isaiah's already getting into the Halloween spirit already up there at the Garage Studio up in the Bay Area. With that in mind, folks, Isaiah's already getting into the Halloween spirit, we already mentioned. But again, folks, for Trevor Williams, for Isaiah Leung, and for yours truly, Callan McClurg, and again, a major shout out again to Christy and Todd, David, Shardol, and David, and the rest of our loyal viewers here and commenters on the 6. We again thank you guys deeply again for your outstanding support and for your love, and again for your comments and for keeping us sane here tonight. But again, folks, for Trevor Williams, for Isaiah Leung, for Shareable Stephen Wing, and the rest of the cast and the rest of the casting crew here on the 6, Kyle McClurg saying goodnight from San Diego, California. We'll see you folks back here again on Saturday and Sunday for the night shift, recapping all the big college and NFL games this week, and of course, plenty more baseball coverage too with the postseason still chugging along into a Game 7 in the ALCS, and probably at this rate, one more game at least in the NLCS between Atlanta and Los Angeles. Till next time, folks, have a good one. Take care, stay safe, and stay healthy. So long. Sayonara. Farewell. We are out of here. Till next time, folks, good night. Bye-bye.
Yeah. 3-6, Mafia.
Yeah.
Whoa. Hey, yeah. Whoa.
Say what?
Whoa.
3-6 Mafia. It's going down. Y'all know what time it is. We ain't playing with you. In the club, in the street.